My memo. Earlier this week, we witnessed on our television screens images of hundreds of Kenyans scampering for safety after tear gas was lobbed at them by police officers for allegedly causing unrest outside the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters in Nairobi. You see, these were members of the now infamous Ekeza Sacco and Gakuyu Real Estate who had gone to the DCI to record statements over claims of their savings being misappropriated by the management of the two schemes. DCI officers investigating fraud claims against Ekeza Sacco and Gakuyu Real Estate associated with controversial Bishop David Ngari Gakuyu had invited contributors to the two schemes to record statements on Monday this week. The office of the DCI had received numerous fraud complaints on the schemes and now wanted members who live in Nairobi and Kiambu to go to the DCI offices to recount their ordeal. Many had been forced to close their businesses, ask for time off from work, leave their farms, some their small children, and armed with all their documents, made their way to this public office on Kiambu Road for the important exercise, their hope and prayer being that they would get their life savings back. However, after waiting for hours under the scorching sun, with no word on when they would start giving statements, their patience naturally wore thin, and soon enough, some of them started protesting, and then came the tear gas. Who wouldn't understand their agitation under these circumstances? It is alleged that the founder of the Sacco, televangelist and preacher David Ngari, aka Gakuyu, rode on religion to recruit Ekeza Sacco members into giving billions to the Sacco. There have been reports that the over 78,000 members of the Sacco gave more than 1.5 billion shillings. An audit report into Ekeza Sacco revealed that the evangelist transferred this amount from the troubled Sacco to his personal account. It is reported that he used the money to upgrade his lifestyle by buying prime property for his family and boosting his struggling real estate farm. What is painful is that a majority of those who lost their money are ordinary Kenyans who took the word of a man they believed it. You hear of a housewife who saved 14,000 shillings but could not access it when she needed the money to get treatment, or of her friend who saved 21,000 shillings over a period of 2 years, but when she needed to pay school fees for her child, was informed there was no money. You hear of a gentleman whose business collapsed because he could no longer fund it. And then there are those who could not get loans, and when they asked for their savings, were told that it was not possible. Earlier this month, Gakuyu presented himself before the Economic Crimes Department of the DCI over these claims. Note that this was after a prodding by Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i. Gakuyu spent slightly over an hour with the investigators and left, accompanied by his team of 6 lawyers. We have to assume that the investigators know better. But surely, you can understand why the investors would be edgy. You can understand if they are angry at being tear-gassed. You can understand if they wonder why Gakuyu is still a free man despite a complaint being filed against him by the Ministry of Trade. No less. And you can understand if they demand that Gakuyu be brought to justice to answer all the questions they have, or at the very least, give them back their hard-earned cash. That's my memo.
On to my kicker tonight. I'll talk about leadership and empathy. This week, a young, not very well-known political leader caught the attention of the world. Jacinda Ardern is her name. Many would probably not have known her name had that murderous and hateful terrorist not attacked a mosque and killed 50 worshippers in Christchurch City, New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern, a former DJ, is the youthful Prime Minister of the New Zealand. She has been on this role for only 18 months, but this week she won the hearts of many across the world by demonstrating one of those very rare leadership qualities, empathy. Now, empathy is defined in the English dictionary as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Now, within hours of the terrorist attack, the Prime Minister Ardern arrived in Christchurch wearing a headscarf and joined the grieving members of the Muslim community in an embrace that communicated both a powerful rebuttal of the politics of hate and a powerful expression of compassionate leadership. Leadership that truly and genuinely cares. Leadership with an ability to understand and share the feelings of the Muslims who had just suffered an unspeakable tragedy. The New Zealand Prime Minister admits she is charting an unusual path in injecting compassion into politics. She says, quote, we teach kindness and empathy to our children. But when it comes to political leadership, we want a complete absence of that. Now, this statement rings so true of our situation right here in Kenya. This week, and in the course of the show, we've heard from political leaders who have demonstrated zero empathy towards thousands of fellow countrymen and women who are suffering the ravages of biting hunger occasioned by a ruthless season of drought in Baringo and Turkana counties, among other regions. From the steps of the imposing government offices in Nairobi to air-conditioned hotels in the coast, senior government officials have defied heart-rending images of emaciated hunger victims. They have dismissed as fake news reports of hunger-related deaths. They have even defied pictures of graves and accounts of relatives who have actually lost and buried their loved ones. Now, in a situation where government officials are busy arguing with the facts, we cannot even start talking empathy here. We are as far from empathetic leadership as Kenya is from New Zealand. It has repeatedly been observed that tragedies, big or small, can shape nations and political careers, some for better and others for the bad side of history books. Former US President Barack Obama made a tearful appearance after 20 nursery school children were murdered at Sandy Hook. George W. Bush joined rescue workers at the rubble of the World Trade Center after the September 11 terrorist attack. And in New Zealand, a young prime minister is leading her country to recovery after a brutal terrorist attack on a mosque. Here in Kenya, we've had our share of tragedies, including the recent attack on the Riverside Business Park. But here we are tonight, telling off the hungry as we downplay an ongoing repeat tragedy that is another season of tragic shortage of food in parts of the country. We neither feel nor share their pain. We may not owe them empathy, but at least we owe them the dignity of letting them tell their own story and mourn their dead, because as things stand right now, they are truly on their own.
Profound. I take it from where you've left, talking about being on their own. On Tuesday, the National Assembly adjourned all other business to discuss that very important topic, the drought. When you hear about 13 counties that are affected in this drought, up to 1.1 million people are facing starvation because of this drought, you would expect that their members of parliament would fill the assembly's chamber to robustly discuss this issue, raise pertinent questions, take the government to task on why food cannot reach their people. But hey, that day, that Tuesday evening, there was just a handful of the people's representatives in the National Assembly. What does this say? Do our leaders take seriously some of these things? Do they feel what the Kenyans are feeling out there? Yet, at the ballot, they tell you, we will speak for you, we will fight for you. Actually, elect us because we will be your servants. That day, your servants were not in the National Assembly when a very serious matter touching on your livelihood was being discussed. A shame.
So, my take tonight is about the drought and hunger situation in the country. Or shall I say, the ongoing war of words over that situation in the country. Now, since the revelations, there has been quite some robust action of denials, contradictions, and even arrests of some for allegedly spreading what has been termed repeatedly as fake news. It is unfortunate that the government officials have to expend so much energy defending the situation, that we now have comparisons between this drought and those of other years is really missing the point. We're getting so tangled up in issues of semantics that we miss the point entirely. Take this for example. The Deputy President now says that the country is not facing a food crisis, but rather a challenge in food. Well, whatever we want to call it, the people in Turkana and Baringo don't have enough of it and are starving. Besides this, the CS in charge of devolution says that there is a food surplus in the country. Just a small challenge of getting it to the people that need it the most. Did it have to come to this? Everyone claims to know the problem, can even define it in very specific English terms and phrases, but yet the people in northern Kenya are still suffering. Those people who don't care too much about the definition of it, but desperately need the food. What is more puzzling, however, is the categorical denial that no one has died from hunger. One official even going as far as to say that if indeed some have died, then it is due to sickness and not hunger. As if there would be a death certificate specifically naming hunger as the cause of death. As if there is a sickness called hunger that can be fingered as the cause of death. Then CS Wamalwa says he was at the same venue where an MCA claimed that 17 people have died, that he knows them and can identify their homes. You see, I find it interesting that the CS wouldn't take the time to investigate those claims. Surely the claim that not one, but 17 people have died would prompt anyone to accompany that MCA to those homes to see for themselves. But what did he do? He returned to Nairobi, and only upon further probing by our own Hussein Mohammed on Newsnight did he say that he would send a government official to verify the claim. Never mind, this would be after a categorical denial by none other than his boss, the deputy president, that no one had died of hunger. Listen, this is what I think. That now that we know the facts, he should in fact have refused to honor Hussein Mohammed's interview request and have stayed in Turkana, going round looking for the homes of those who may have lost loved ones. One would imagine that that would be the most natural thing to do, to investigate and verify their claims rather than put those making them in custody. I'm not sure that arresting those government officials who say that people have died entirely solves the problem. After all, they are on the ground. Who would know better, the chief on the ground or the minister here in Nairobi? Drought and the ensuing famine doesn't just happen suddenly. Between the National Drought Management Authority, the Met Department, the National Disaster Management Unit, the county government, the Agriculture Ministry, the Devolution Ministry, the ping pong continues. Listen, folks, drought may be an act of God, but famine is not. It is a manifestation of poor management, period. Denials or not.
Now, tonight, I will not speak about hunger. Instead, I'll speak about what I call the banning culture. We really like banning things in this country. When we run into a challenge, when we can't manage something, we resort to imposing a ban. When we have a serious road accident, we ban night travel. Never mind that there will be many good drivers and other innocent travelers who just prefer the breeze of the night when they make their journey. But we don't care. When we catch some people destroying our forests in the name of logging, we impose an immediate ban on logging, even if some people had got licenses from the very government to harvest timber in specific forests. Oh, and did I hear that a bank has banned the opening of new safe deposit accounts after that fake money saga? Now, before I run into trouble, let me say, there are many things worth banning. Corruption, overlapping on our roads, electing thieves into public office, and even specific aspects of logging, by the way. That list is long. But let me return to the latest ban. It concerns a certain type of packaging material that the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, now says is of poor quality and will eventually be bad for the environment. Now, as a student of environmental governance, I know that the environment is critical. It is the basis of life. But I also know that the environment and the laws that govern it do not exist in a vacuum. Enforcing those laws and policies must happen within the bounds of good order and transparency. I do not want to get into the debate of whether indeed these materials called non-woven polypropylene bags are truly bad for the environment. There's a whole debate out there about their place as an alternative to the regular plastics that we banned here in 2017. Now, here's where I'm coming from. NEMA has said that it is banning these packaging materials because they, quote, do not meet the quality standards. Please allow me to wonder, where was NEMA when hundreds or thousands of these bags were being manufactured? To the best of my knowledge, these bags surfaced within days of the plastic ban in February 2017. Why would it take the country's principal environmental regulator a whole 2 years to discover that maybe these bags are not good for the environment after all? 2 years. What if this was something more lethal? I mean, some pollutant that could snuff life out of us? What other dangerous substance is still floating out there that NEMA is yet to discover? Furthermore, what are those investors to do after cashing in on the plastic ban and pouring their money into the production of these alternatives? Did anyone tell them what the standards of the new packaging bags needed to be? And if they were told, and they defied the order, how many of them have been taken to court? How can we be told 2 years later that these bags do not meet the standards, and all we do is ban them? Isn't it time for someone at NEMA to tell us where they have been for the 2 years on holiday? How are we to know that the bags we currently use will not be outlawed after another few weeks or months? In any case, what message does this knee-jerk approach send to investors who want to put their money in Kenya? That we will open the doors for them, watch them toil to set up operations, see their products roll off the assembly line, and then 2 years later tell them, sorry folks, but we have been watching this product for 2 years and we now think it's very bad indeed for the environment? Come on. Anyone who invests their money expects some returns, and government policy, environment or otherwise, has to be predictable enough to encourage potential investors. Who will put their money into an economy where the product could be declared illegal the following day? Now, please understand that NEMA must ban anything that is harmful to the environment. But even they know that modern-day environmentalism is not authoritarian. It is not haphazard. It is not guesswork. And above all, it has to fit within the motif of an open and accountable society that our Constitution speaks of. So tonight, I refuse to celebrate the ban. A ban that is 2 years too late says more about the regulator than it does about the manufacturer. And that is my angle tonight.
Absolutely. And by the way, before we leave, did you see how members of our county assembly in Kiambu County robustly discussed the state of poverty in Kiambu County?
Was that a discussion?
Yeah, I mean, can't you see the clips? Can you see that? Yeah, we have the footage. Yeah. They were robustly discussing how to implement the budget 2018.
Why involving us in your local...
No. I want to show you how robust our MCAs were in that discussion. I mean, this is how Kiambu County, number 22.
Newsgang is a national show, Francis.
It is.
We don't want to wade into this local...
No.
Yeah.
See, I want
a purely local way of solving
No. I want to compare this to how robustly the MCAs in Homa Bay were discussing their issues, how robustly the discussion was in Wajir County, and also how robustly the discussion was in Kisumu County. Kiambu takes the top honor.
Yeah. Maybe that's something we should ban.
I think we have a robust night, shall we?
Let's all do that, have a robust night, and maybe we should start by banning the night or banning the show. the end of it, the beginning of it.
Yeah, it is banned.
It is banned. Have a good night. The hashtag remains Newsgang. Keep talking to us at Citizen TV Kenya. You know our Twitter handles. Let's keep talking. Of course, a lot of this will continue.
It's not night.
Huh?
We ban you
from,
we ban you from
this
speaking
show.
any further.
Good night, everyone.